Welcome friend our YouTube channel Competitive Exam Master, on which upcoming day we take the series of various important topic for the SSC and Railway which held in next year. Here we discuss the Railway ALP and Technician CBD Stage 2 exam, in which part B related to technical topics or specialization trades. Here we take the physics related some important topic in part of series. Today we discuss the some important scientific instrument in two parts. Here we take the first part. Let's begin. Altimeter measure the altitude or height used in aircraft. Ammeter measure the strength of electrical current in ampere. Anemometer measure the force and velocity of wind with its direction flows. Audiometer measure the intensity of sound in dB. Barograph measure the continuous recording of atmospheric pressure. Barometer measure the atmospheric pressure of surrounding. Here to understand difference between the barograph and barometer. Next, binoculars to view the distance object. Bolometer to measure the heat radiation of substance. Cardiogram to record the heartbeat movements of patient. Chronometer to obtain a very accurate time, determine the longitude at sea level. Commutator to convert the AC into DC to change the direction of electrical current with the help of dynamo. Cyclotron to study the properties of atom by smashing them. Calipers measure inner or outer diameters of bodies. Calorimeter measure the quantities of heat. Dilatometer measure the changes in volume of substance. Dynamo to convert the mechanical energy into electrical energy. Dynamometer measure the electrical power. Here to understand difference between dynamo and dynamometers. Next, electrometer measure the very small but potential difference in electrical current. Electroscope to detect the presence of electrical charges in element. Electromicroscope to obtain the magnifying view of very small objects. Endoscope to observe the internal parts of body of human. Fathometer to measure the depth of ocean. Galvanometer to measure the electrical current in ampere. Hydrometer measure the relative density of liquid. Hydrometer measure the relative density of the liquid. Hygrometer measure the level of humidity. Hypsometer measure the boiling point of liquid. Here to understand difference between the hydrometer, hygrometer and hypsometer. Hydro means water, hygro for humidity measurement, and hypsometer to measure the boiling point of liquid. Next, lactometer measure the relative density of milk to determine its purity. Magnetometer to compare the magnetic fields and movements. Micrometer measure the distance and angle. Microphone to convert the sound waves into electrical vibration, such as the headphone of mobile. Microscope to obtain the magnifying view of very small objects. Periscope to determine and view the objects above the sea level used in submarines. Phonograph to reproduce the sound. Pyrometer to measure very high temperature above the 600 Celsius. Next, Corders clock to obtain the accurate time for astronomical observations and research. Next, radar to detect the range and direction of approaching aeroplane by the radio waves, which used in research and defense field. Radiometer to measure the emission of radiant energy. Range gauge to measure the rainfall. Refractometer to measure the refractive index of substance such as the glass. Radio micrometer to measure the heat radiation. Next, Salinometer to measure the density to determine the concentration of the salt solution. Sensomometer or seismograph to measure and record the earthquake. Spectrometer to observe or record the spectra. Speedometer to measure the speed of moving vehicle. Stereoscope to view the two-dimensional pictures. Siphonometer to measure the blood pressure in human body. Spring balance to measure the weight. Stereoscope to view the two-dimensional picture. Stroboscope to observe the fast moving objects. Last, tachometer to obtain the speed of the aeroplanes and boat. Teleprinter to receive and send the type message from one place to another place. Telescope to view the distance object in space for the space research, galaxy and stars. Next, thermometer to measure the temperature by electrical resistance of a coil of the thin wire. Thermostat to regulate the temperature at particular point. Theodolite to measure the horizontal and vertical angles. Next, vernier to measure the small subdivisions of the adjustable scale. Voltmeter to measure the electrical potential difference between 2 points. Odometer to measure the range gauge. Wattmeter to measure the electrical relative power. Thank you, friend. Please like, subscribe and share with your friends so we make the more videos for your upcoming exams goal. Thank you.